I contribute more than double to my ISA every month compared to my pension, and I've been doing this for a while. This goes against what most people do, and it goes against what most personal finance experts recommend. We're always told to put as much as we can away into our pensions and then reap the rewards in retirement. And this is exactly what I used to do. In my early 20s, I contributed 20% of my salary into my pension, as I knew this was the most tax-efficient way to invest. But 18 months ago, I changed my strategy. And in this video, I'll explain why I now prioritize my ISA over my pension, and why this works for my financial goals. I want to say that this video is not financial advice. I'm simply sharing what I do and why I do it. If you're new here, I'm Finch, a management consultant by day, and on this channel we like to discuss all things personal finance, with a particular focus on how to grow your money through investing. If you'd like to follow my own personal finance journey, then I'd greatly appreciate subscribe. But for this video, let's get into it, and let's start by comparing ISAs and pensions and explaining why for most people, prioritising a pension makes sense. Pensions are essentially a pot of money which most people use to live off in their later years. And why they're such a great account to save up for your retirement is because they're extremely tax efficient. You get tax-free investment growth, since investments inside a pension grow free of capital gains tax and income tax. You can also get tax relief on contributions with income tax relief, and if you contribute through salary sacrifice, you can save on national insurance. The tax benefits don't stop here either, as you can get a tax-free lump sum when withdrawing too. You can take up to 25% of your pension completely tax-free when withdrawing. Another current benefit is that pensions are mostly exempt from inheritance tax, although it's worth noting this is due to change in 2027. ISAs have similar tax benefits with exemptions from capital gains tax and income tax on investment growth. But with ISAs, you don't get tax relief on contributions, and they're also not exempt from inheritance tax. So pensions are a much more tax-efficient account in keeping more money away from the taxman. The benefits of a pension aren't just limited to tax either, as pensions have another massive advantage in potential free employer contributions. If you're an employee and meet some basic conditions such as earning over £10,000, then you'll automatically be enrolled into a workplace pension, where if you contribute at least 5% of your salary into the pension, then your employer must contribute at least 3% too. This is free money, and many employers go well beyond the 3% minimum, especially in the public sector, where it's known for employer contributions to be over 20%. So overall, it's clear that for most people, prioritising a pension over an ISA account makes sense, as they're more tax efficient overall and can come with free employer contributions. I want to make clear that although I do prioritise my ISA, I still contribute to my pension too. My employer runs a matching scheme where they'll match my contributions up to 6%. This is free money, so I make full use of it, contributing 6% of my salary into my pension. However, this is nowhere near the level I used to contribute. You might wonder, what changed? Why do you now prioritise your ISA? It's the simple reason that I don't want to wait till I'm 60 years old to access the money. The negative of pensions is age restrictions to when you can access the money. Right now, you can't typically access your pension until you're 55, and this age will increase to 57 in 2028. By the time I hit that age, it will likely be over 60, and that just doesn't work for my financial goals. My long-term goal is to be financially free by the age of 45. This doesn't necessarily mean retirement, but it means I have the choice. I want to build a big enough portfolio so that I don't have to rely on a job for income, and then have the choice to take money out at 45. Pensions simply don't allow me to achieve this goal, because I can't access the money when I need to, when I want to. But with an ISA, I can, as with this account you can withdraw money anytime, and this is the first and biggest reason why I'm focused on my ISA. The second reason is around tax on withdrawals. When I do reach the age of 45, if I decide to take money out, I won't just withdraw all the money at once. I'll likely follow the 4% rule. This means I'll be withdrawing 4% of my portfolio each year. This strategy is based on past research, which suggests by withdrawing only 4% each year, my portfolio is likely to grow enough to replace what I take out. What all this means in reality is that if my portfolio gets to 1 million, let's say, I'd be taking out £40,000 each year. When I do this, I want to limit how much tax I pay on that 40,000. And ISAs have a big advantage here in that you don't need to pay tax on withdrawals. This makes a huge difference. And to show this, let's compare the tax I'd need to pay when using a pension account versus an ISA in the scenario of withdrawing £40,000 every year. For a pension, the first 25% of course will be tax-free. But after that point, I'd need to pay income tax. And for £40,000, I'd need to pay £5,486 every year. This is because if I take out 40k, based on current tax rates, £27,430 would be subject to the 20% tax rate. This means in total, after minusing the tax, I would be left with £34,514 to live off. If we compare this to an ISA, there's a big difference, as with an ISA, I keep 100% of that £40,000, no tax at all when withdrawing. Of course, I know many people will point out that pensions are still more tax efficient overall, as you get tax relief up front with contribution relief. However, ISAs allow me to take money out tax-free and allow me to take money out when I actually need it. In summary, now I've compared the accounts across the key criteria, it's clear that for most people, prioritising a pension likely makes sense because of the superior tax advantages and employer contributions. But for my key financial goal in achieving financial freedom by 45, an ISA offers me the best means to achieve that for two main reasons. Firstly, the fact that I can access the money anytime, meaning I don't have to wait till I'm over 60 to access the money. And secondly, because there's no tax on withdrawals, meaning whatever I take out, I get to keep 100%. For these reasons, I'm prioritising my ISA over my pension account. My current plan is to max out my ISA allowance every year, so invest £20,000 in my ISA, and eventually, over the long term, build up my portfolio to the point where 4% withdrawals will cover my lifestyle. I want to be financially free, and my current goal is to build the portfolio to that point of financial freedom by the age of 45. But for this video, if you're thinking of prioritising one of an ISA or a pension, then please do your own research and pick the account which works best for you, your needs and your goals. For me personally, it's not an either-or decision. I use both my pension and my ISA. I'm just contributing more to my ISA. I use my pension to take advantage of the free employer contributions, and I use an ISA because it allows me to achieve my goal of financial freedom on my own terms. Let me know in the comments what you're doing for the next financial year, if you're contributing more to your pension, if you're contributing more to your ISA, or if you're doing something completely different.